Hey guys, welcome back to Pete's Behavioural Insights and Theories, aka Pete's Bits. Today I'm joined by my friend Merle van den Akker. We used to work together at the Warwick Behavioural Insights team. Merle is a PhD student here at the University of Warwick, and you might know her from her popular blog, Money on the Mind. Merle, your topic of your PhD is?
Payment methods and the pain of paying.
Pain of paying. And so today we're going to be talking about the pain of paying. But before we do, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell and leave a like down below. It really helps the channel out and it only takes like 2 seconds. Alright, let's get on with the video. So Merle, what is the pain of paying?
So the pain of paying is a really interesting concept because it has been around forever, but they forgot to give it a name, sort of. So within economics it was assumed that as soon as you spend money you just get the immediate reward from the good or the service that you've just acquired. But actually at the same time what's happening is that you're losing money. Obviously, something's got to give, right? And that's actually associated with quite a lot of negative feelings, predominantly the feeling of loss. And given that we are loss averse, at least most people tend to be according to behavioral economics, this is not something we like, this is not something we enjoy. So the pain of paying is all of the negative feelings associated with actually making a payment and losing the money.
How does the pain of payment work?
So the pain of paying is a bit dependent on a couple of things. So the pain of paying really came up as a form of research when the credit card had been around for a long time. So say about 30 years after the credit card got popularized, so research had some time to catch up, about 30 years. But they figured out that the credit card was very different from cash. So people spent much more on the credit card than they did with cash. And economists and behavioral economists started to wonder what actually was going on there, and that is how the theory of the pain of paying was born. Now, if you compare a credit card to cash, you're going to notice that there's a couple of differences. So obviously cash is very physical. If I give someone cash, I actually physically have to hand something over. Now, with the credit card, you can give someone the card, but you're gonna get the whole card back, and it's just a very different process. And if you spend half of the balance on your credit card, it's not like the person at the till cuts off half your credit card and you only get half a return. So credit card is not very physical, and cash is super physical. So physicality is a massive aspect of the pain of paying. Now, another thing that we've seen with a credit card is that obviously a lot of people who very frequently use a credit card get at the end of the month a nice bill, which is always higher than you thought it would be. Now, this is something that just can't happen with cash. If you spend with cash, you have to pay immediately. There's no delay. So the payment is actually concurrent with the purchase. And that is very important. So this temporal distance doesn't exist with cash, making it much more painful because you're losing the money now and not way after you actually made the purchase. Now, another thing that the credit card doesn't have, which cash does have, if I spend £50, I can see that I'm spending £50. Cash is very transparent because it says it on the note. Makes it very easy to know for your mental accounting or for your budgeting, unless you start using payment methods which do not reflect the amount that you're spending. So again, if you're using a credit card or any other type of payment method that doesn't have direct value on it, it's really unclear how much you've spent, and it's just not as salient. So I would say physicality, transparency and concurrency are what determine the pain of paying.
Okay. How does Apple Pay and Android Pay fit into the pain of payment?
Well, if a credit card is not physical, then a mobile phone definitely is not as well. So what we're seeing with mobile phones is that they also tend to be contactless. So you just tap the phone against the payment terminal and that is the whole transaction. So it's very non-physical. Again, it's very non-transparent because you can't actually see the value going out. Now you can actually mediate that by tracking your finances properly. So most people have online banking or have an app installed like Monzo or a budget tracker like Money Dashboard. And I really do advise having those types of apps. It's really important to track your finances. It makes it a lot easier to budget. But yeah, a mobile phone is just, again, it's not cash, it's not physical, it's not transparent, and hopefully it is concurrent, but still you're missing 2 out of the 3 very important aspects of making a payment painful. Which, if that's what you want to do, if you want to have some control over your spending and budget, or maybe even spend less, the pain of paying is really what you need then.
How can we use the pain of payment in our behavioural interventions?
Well, I mean, there's multiple ways it can go. It kind of depends what you want to do with the intervention. So most frequently what we see with people who want to change their personal finances or who want to change their spending pattern, the main thing they want to do is spend less and save more, and then potentially later move that saving into the down payment of debt or investment. But the start is very simple. You want to figure out where your money is going and spend less. That tends to be an overarching theme when people want to take control of their finances, which is completely fair. But then what you want to do is you want to make paying painful again, which, given the new technologies that we have, is actually quite difficult. So if we look just at the theory and take it completely out of context, what you'd want to do is you'd want to use cash and almost use cash exclusively, but at the same time track your finances. So keep your receipts, write every expenditure down, maybe by hand or in like an Excel sheet or something, and track and then categorize which categories you're spending a lot of money on, where you could spend less, if it was a frivolous or like an impulsive type of expenditure, or when it was actually necessary. And like that, you would want to figure out where your money is going, and from purely the pain of paying, you'd want to use cash because it would make you a lot less impulsive, feel much more in control, and cash is very finite as a resource. Once you spend £50, you can't spend it again. Cash doesn't have an overdraft. It's just it's done. It's very limited, which is good. I mean, I personally think it's good. But then the question becomes, when we put things back into context, you really have to ask yourself, are you in a country in which cash is a legal tender? Or are you in a country where there is hyperinflation and cash one day is not worth what it was worth, yesterday? Or are you in a country where cash is only used in the dark grey or even the black market? Like, is cash actually an option? I think that's a really important question to ask yourself. And then again, it might also be that, we're still in a pandemic. Using cash is very, very heavily discouraged, so that might not be ideal as well. And then of course some people just think cash is a hassle. And cash being a hassle is actually one of the reasons why it hurts so much. But some people then, when it comes to tracking their expenditure, if they're constantly just getting cash out, they also seem to lose track of where it's all going. Because to a lot of people, and I think that's predominantly our generation and even younger, if you're not raised on cash is just kind of monopoly money. So for the older generations that used to have cash and then moved to, say, credit cards, debit cards, maybe even mobile payments, the gimmick is the new gadgets. But for us, we grew up on the gadgets, so for us the gimmick is the real money. So you really have to figure out what payment method suits you, how, what your context is, how you were raised, which money feels to you like real money and which money doesn't feel like real money. Like, these are a lot of factors to take into account. So in general, I'm perfectly happy giving the advice, use cash and track everything. But if cash feels like a gimmick to you, use a card, make sure that you have a budget tracker installed on your phone, keep proper, track of your finances and plan from there. I think that is the main thing to take away from that. Okay,
good. It's an interesting dichotomy that people are faced with, right? Because it's like, on the one hand, you want to be managing your finances more, so you might want to use cash or maybe write things down, like you say. But then on the other hand, that's a really, to use a behavioral science term, that's a really high friction activity, right? It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time, a lot of system 2 working really hard, right, to make that happen. So how do apps make that process easier, and are they as effective?
I don't know if they are as effective. I'm going to be very, very honest because I haven't seen that research yet. Now, for me, the idea is very simple. Like, if you just have to think about, I have to get cash out every single time out of the machine, and I can only pay with cash, and then I have to, keep the receipt, and then I have to write it down. I hopefully write it down accurately. This is already a thought that to some people sounds like so much effort, it might actually just keep them away from, taking control over their finances at all, or doing anything to, refigure it out. Which, if that leads to inertia, that's an intervention that has completely and utterly failed. So that's clearly not the method for you. If this is, giving you heart palpitations, just, the thought of it, this is not for you. I do think it's never been easier than it is now to track where your money is going. Again, it's also never been easier to spend it. I mean, on Amazon's one-click buy system It's impressive, and I'm sure it earns them a lot of money. But from a consumer perspective, especially if you want to manage your money, this type of stuff is the worst. So if you feel like you're struggling with online spending because it is so easy, the best advice is to actually make that much, much more difficult. So don't have your card details saved anywhere, don't have your address or your personal details saved anywhere, and don't have the one-click buy thing activated. Just opt out, for the love of God. Just in that way, make it harder, like add friction to that process so you're less likely to do it. So you can make spending a lot harder for yourself. And it doesn't have to just be through cash. Just making spending harder increases the pain of paying. And that is what you want.
Don't use PayPal.
No, absolutely not. Too easy.
It's so easy to use PayPal. And it's interesting we talk about slowing down, right? Because I remember listening to an interview with Kahneman, and he said that the whole analogy of thinking fast and slow is really powerful, and that just literally slowing down is a powerful enough analogy for a lot of behavioral interventions. And I think that applies right here, right? If we just slow down how fast we make a purchase, cool down a bit, maybe we won't spend so frivolously.
No, exactly. So if you make the payment process a lot slower, I mean, the one thing that you're doing is if you're up against having to fill in 20 boxes with your name, your address, your payment details, it's just a hassle. So that's one way of slowing it down, but that's just increasing friction, which is super, super useful, but it's not necessarily because you're slowing down. But what the slowing down aspect might actually do is it might it will take you from something which was impulsive, because it no longer can be, because we're 10 seconds in already. The impulse is gone. And then system 2 can kick in, and you can maybe have that little nagging voice in the back of your head being like, do I really need it? But I thought we were budgeting, so why are we buying this? Does this add anything to my life? Or go, all like Marie Kondo and be like, does this bring joy to me? Or I've seen one episode of that, but I'm sure something like that would be equally effective. So just stuff like that. Just give your system to the chance to activate and be like, we were saving, we had a higher goal. This is not serving that higher goal. Put it back. Move it out of the shopping cart. Put it back.
Okay, that's really
Step
good.
away from the laptop.
Walk away.
Alright, thank you guys for watching today's video. Thank you to Merle for coming on the channel.
Thanks for having me.
My first in-person interview. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps out. And if you want to know more about Merle, her blog, or the pain of payment, lots of links in the description below. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.
Later.